Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? This is a brief recap of everything that I read this year, as well as the best of year edition. Let's start with the best of, because that's usually the stuff people are most interested in. All of these are written up over at the Cracker Stack. That's the name of my Substack. So you can find it there. It's free for now, but if you're watching this, let's say after June 30th of 25, then it's most likely gone behind the paywall because everything automatically does that after 6 months on Substack. So I read the Vinland books. I read the first two. There are 8 of these. They're a manga, and apparently they're based on a nonfiction about the Norse centuries in Europe. Makes me really want to check those ones out. That was fantastic. Good artwork, good storytelling. I did a video about this one, No Surrender by Hiro Onoda. He's the guy who hid out in the jungles of the South Pacific for 29 years as a Japanese soldier. I read the biography of George Lucas by Brian J. Jones. This was published, I want to say, before The Force Awakens came out. And I wrote up a list of things that I learned from this book, also on the Substack, but that one's well behind the paywall. I did a video about this one, Dark Days. It's about the homeless people who live in the Las Vegas storm drains. Very illuminating title. An Approach to the Book of Mormon by Hugh Nibley. He was a professor, I think, was he a professor of ancient scripture? Like, he's a very well-studied historian who used to teach at BYU back in the 50s. This one gave a lot of historical context to the time period about the people in the Book of Mormon. Masquerade by Alfred F. Young. Did a video on this one as well. That's about Deborah Sampson. She's the woman who dressed as a man to fight in the American Revolution. This did a really good job of cutting through a lot of the BS and mythology around Deborah Sampson. Junkyard Joe, the comic book from Ghost Machine by Jeff Johns and his crew. Awesome. And then Rock and Roll Ninja, the graphic novel by Richard Meyer and Chuck Dixon. I cannot wait for the second one there. Geiger, also by Jeff Johns. I enjoyed that one way more than I thought I was going to. I grabbed the deluxe edition this year because it's got all the expanded content. Dreamer of Dune, that's the biography of Frank Herbert. I did a video about that one too. Really, really satisfying read. I'm glad that I got to read that story, and it was especially valuable because it was told by his son Brian, who not just wrote about Frank, but also gave you insights into what it was like growing up while the man was writing Dune. I did a video on this one, Tenure by Pardo and Barron. This could have very easily become like a cheesy political book, but it did not. This was great. This was the Punisher versus the woke, we'll say. I'm very excited to see what they do with a sequel now that this one is done. Project Mayflower, did a video about that one. That's a Brit and an American who were teaming up to build a scale replica of the Mayflower. And then, of course, my reading of The Silmarillion by Tolkien. I'm still planning on getting the videos out that I did of those posts on Substack. That project took me about 6 months to finish. And so in a rolling sequence, we'll say, they're starting to go behind the paywall. You can still catch some of them now, but if not, just stay tuned to the channel here. And you can see the chapter-by-chapter 5-minute summaries from The Silmarillion. And, of course, a brief plug for my own book that I finished. It counts because during the editing process, I read the book like 3 or 4 times. And, of course, I'm tremendously proud of my work. I think you should check it out. So, of course, check out the Substack, crackerstack.substack.com, to find this piece. And then it's just a matter of curiosity. I do keep track of what I read. In 2024, I read 142 books. That was as of like right after Christmas, and I just decided not to push through this week. It was nice catching up on podcasts and other stuff. 28 of those books were physical print books, and most of those were comic books or graphic novels. It's just a condition of my schedule that I don't really have a whole lot of time to sit down and turn pages on books, but I'm trying to make more time for that this year. There are certain benefits to that, and I'll talk about that in another video. 114 were audiobooks. Some of them were short, some of them were really long. I'm going to be doing more of these long audiobooks, like 40 and 50-hour books in 2025. It's hard to figure out how to count comic books, whether you go by the trade paperback or the individual issues, so I didn't keep track of that count individually. Once I read like 5 or 6 issues of a title, I counted that as a book because that tended to be the length of a graphic novel. I wasn't going to take some 20-page floppy and say, "Ha, I read a whole book." Like I didn't want to skew the count that way. And I reread 13 books that I had read before, including a couple of series. I'm rereading the Leviathan series and the Captain Alatriste novels, and I read some of the Forgotten Warrior novels to do my recap videos. And then, as you just saw, I had 13 titles that made the best of year list. There were about 16 books that I didn't finish after starting for various reasons. And then the busiest months, in January, July, and November, I read 14 books each. And the leanest month was August because I went on vacation, and coming back from vacation and being tired and trying to decompress, I usually just listen to music until I can kind of get back on my schedule. But that was what my 2024 looked like. So let me know what some of your favorites were. Until next time, drive safe. See you out there.